Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
No, you don't. I help out when I'm available, and that's pretty much every day. My name is Mike Poworski. I am your co-host from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, and the co-host with the most coming at you here on the Rundown, where we bring you 2A views and conservative news. And it looks like my chair is slipped in the wrong direction, so let me get up here because it looks like I'm 20 miles further away than you, Craig. So here we go. Zoom back in here. There we
No,
go.
we look
Zero in.
pretty good. We look pretty good.
Oh, I know. I look damn good. I'm just saying I'm not centered. Yeah, I'm just there. We go. Okay. All right.
How
There
are
we
we
go.
doing this fine
Check,
Thursday
check
evening?
left, check right, check left, check right. Um, it's Thirsty Thursday, baby. We're ready to go. We're
Oh
ready.
yeah,
We're ready to get this party started.
and that is generally the plan on Thursdays. We've tried to get it started on Wednesday. Sometimes we do make it, sometimes we don't. But by Thursday evening, it's almost fully on, with the exception of our Freedback Friday show.
Oh yeah, you got to maintain a little bit of stability in order to have a good performance on a Friday. But you know what we need, Craig? We need help. We got to get us some kind of theme music or video for Thursdays.
We do. We've got to figure it out. Tell you what, folks, if you have a suggestion, do this. How about you go ahead and you put it in the description to this video? If you're watching us on any of the, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or however you're watching us. Now, if you're watching us on OpsLens, you can also comment there. Do us a favor. The great thing about OpsLens is it gives you a chance. You can actually send a message to us, right? You can send a message to us, comment to us there on OpsLens. All you got to do is download the app. That's right, download the app. If you're watching us on Facebook on OpsLens, there's a link right there. Also, if you go to our webpage, you'll be able to find a link to the program or to OpsLens there, where you can go ahead and you can download the app. Or you can watch us on Roku, or you can watch us on Apple TV. Working on trying to get OpsLens on a number of different things. But once again, you can watch us on your TV if you want. So if you got an idea for some theme music, please go ahead and hit us up. We've got theme music for Taco Tuesday. We've got it for Hump Day. We still need to work on something for Mondays. I was thinking Monday, Fun Day, Gun Day. I was thinking maybe we should see if we can get Charlie to play a little ditty for us.
Oh boy, yeah, yeah. If we get old shotgun with Charlie to do us a little theme opening for Monday. Oh boy, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
That will work. That'll work.
That
Yeah,
would really work.
yeah.
That would really work.
That'll work.
By the way,
That'll work.
Charlie's program is also on OpsLens, so check him out. He has a show called Riding Shotgun with Charlie. It is cool. He's a really good guy, and it's a really interesting program. He has folks from all over the 2A community on his program.
Yes, been there. Great stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah. One day, I'm still working on getting him all the way out here to Cali. I think that he's afraid that his shotgun won't be allowed in the state of California.
Well, it should be okay because it's only got a 2-shot maximum capacity, right? Which are double barrels, so
Well,
you
we
should
are
be good.
talking about Charlie here. You don't know what sort of little gadgetry he might have on there.
He does have his gadgets. I did his gadgets.
Speaking of gadgets and thinking, speaking of California, California, or anyway, speaking of civilian gun ownership, there you go. That was the little lead in that I was looking for. Uh, we all know that there's a thing going on over there in Ukraine, where
What?
there's been an invasion. Russia has in fact invaded Ukraine,
Russia
and
invaded Russia.
CNN, well, obviously CNN is we all know that they are not necessarily believers of freedom, liberty, and we definitely know they're definitely not believers in
The
civilian
truth.
gun ownership or the Second Amendment. But an interesting thing happened on the way to the invasion, Mikey. There was an analyst that was on CNN the other day who was talking about, yesterday, who they were talking about what is going on and how the people there in the Ukraine are going to be able to stand up and fight, how they're going to be able to defend themselves. And this analyst had something very interesting to say about civilian gun ownership and the role it will play with the Ukrainians in helping to keep them free and safe.
One of the things that we've heard from Ukrainian officials over the last few hours is, diplomacy is still our first goal here. Preventing further Russian incursion without fighting is our first goal. But if it gets past that, we'll fight for every inch of territory in every city.
And they will.
So how bloody do you think this can get? How much fight do you think the Ukrainians have here?
I think Ukrainians have 150%, 500% fight. I mean, they're going to fight like hell. And actually, they just passed a law in which guns are allowed to be used in freely in Ukraine. So that is a preparation. So if every Ukrainian takes a gun, Russians don't have a prayer. I mean, the military can fight, but it would be Ukrainians, I think, really ready to die. That's why I continue to insist that big incursion, and that's where, once again, from my point of view, diplomacy was wrong. Diplomacy was wrong to say Putin is going to go on Kyiv, because he lost grip on reality, but he's not suicidal. He's not. He wants to go in history as a defender of the Russian lands and kind of gather out some degree, but he doesn't want to go into history as the creator of another war, because no Russian, even the most patriotic ones, want to fight right now.
So, Mike, the interesting thing that she's pointing out here, in particular in the beginning of this statement, was the main people who are going to be fighting once they go in are going to be the civilians on the ground who all of a sudden now that they're being invaded, now all of a sudden have the ability or the right to own or possess a firearm.
If I recall correctly, doing a little the data search here in my brain, I think this is something that was actually written into their newer constitution, and I believe with the help of Mr. Alan Gottlieb from the Second Amendment Foundation, if I recall correctly. I think he did a little mission over there about 2 years ago or so. If I'm hoping I've got that right. Yeah, I usually don't mess those facts up, but I think the most impressive thing she said, Craig, is that the people of the Ukraine are 550% prepared for this. That's some pretty impressive numbers. So,
in fact, I Googled it while you were talking about it, and you are 100% correct. That was something that was written into, and that's what she was referring to. That was something that was written into their constitution. And when they became free, a number of scholars and civil rights advocates from here in the United States went over and helped them to develop that constitution. And one of the things that they did make it a point to write into there was a right to keep and bear arms.
Yeah, so let's see what kind of arms they've kept and borne. So, listen, it's a former Soviet satellite country. It's probably littered with AK-47s and things like that. So, the ammunition shall be plentiful here pretty soon. We know the Ukraine was one of the largest manufacturers of ammunition, 7.62 by 39. So it just makes sense that they have those rifles available to them. The hard part with an invasion, right? And we've seen this even with our own invasions, going into Iraq or going back as far as Vietnam. We take in the heavy equipment, heavy military, and there's not much that the AK-47 can do that day, but the day after is when it starts, and you see the results there of what just peasants can do to repel a standing army.
Well, and I thought you made an excellent point when we talked about this. I believe it was yesterday. The problem, part of the challenge is that there are many people in these countries who still see themselves as Soviets. And so in some cases, you may have instances of neighbor fighting neighbor.
That's really what this is going to come down to. This is not like, anything we've seen before, because again, you've got now, up until the mid 90s, this was part of the Soviet Union, and they've only recently really tasted independence, remember, because of the new constitution. Other than that, they were trying to get by with Soviet aid, with Eastern Bloc aid, because they had no way to go. And people experienced bad times here in the first days of democracy. So now the separatists, which are the old Soviet citizens, and it's more than half the people that live there were Soviet citizens, are now saying, we're done. We're okay with this. That's why we're separatists. Why do you think they let Crimea be invaded without Ukraine fighting back, without any resistance, without the rest of the region fighting back? Because it was all, kind of an internal conflict. Ukraine was not one of those countries that the Soviet Union went around gallivanting and took over Poland and the like. The Ukraine was always part of the Soviet Union. It was always one of those little Soviet parts of their kingdom, so to speak. So it's tough. It's tough. It's not like they were an outlier, that they were trying to gain, a victory over. So they are. I mean, Ukrainians for the most part consider themselves Soviets. Those that are older, again,
Right.
those that are over the age of 25 or 30 years old.
Well, and hopefully that means that those that those who are of fighting age are more likely to be, supporting Western democracy, the new independent Ukraine.
Yeah, and
Hopefully
listen,
that's the case.
unless there's unless you've got the NATO treaties in place, or the UN treaties in place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I continue to see this one more and more as almost as a civil war, an internal fight. It's hard for me to say, let's jump involved. Now you want to go and say we're invading Poland, or we're invading Germany, or another one of the border countries that have been their own country forever and ever.
Right.
That's a different story.
Well, but I do think, and once again, I'm not necessarily a believer in putting troops on the ground, but I do believe that we have an obligation to do what we can to provide them the resources, Ukraine, the resources they need to be able to defend themselves.
Well, they got all that Biden oil money in the Ukraine. Why don't they just use some of that?
Right. Well, there you go. way to plug the American defense industry. Could be a boon to them.
A boom.
Boom. Kaboom. A big kaboom. Okay. All right. Now, this next story may seem, for those of you who've been listening to the program, may seem like old news, but Dr. Oz has once again come out and made a statement regarding his position on the Second Amendment and on red flag laws. Now, initially, when he introduced his idea, the idea that he was running for Senate, and for those of you who do not know, he's running for Senate, U.S. Senate, representing the state of Pennsylvania. The interesting thing is that he made it a point, and he has gone. Initially, people just pointed to all of the things that he said regarding red flag laws and other things relating to assault weapons bans and things along those lines, and made it very clear he is not pro-gun. Let's be very clear and honest. He is not pro-gun. In particular, if you support the idea of red flag laws, you are not pro-liberty, because you support the idea of gun confiscation. You support the idea of unreasonable search and seizure. You support basically people losing their rights after having committed absolutely no crime. You're against the idea of them you're against due process, them being able to face their accuser, all of that. And Dr. Oz came out and said, no, I'm not anti-gun. I'm pro-Second Amendment. Well, sure enough, he's come out once again and reiterated his support for red flag laws. And once again, I keep coming back to this. Too many people who do not understand gun laws, who do not understand gun rights, who do not understand this stuff, come back and they continue to be Second Amendment butts. And this guy is not just a Second Amendment butt, he's a Second Amendment ass.
Yeah, you're right there. Hey, Craig, I have a little confession to make. For many, many years, I thought Dr. Oz was the lead singer from the Muppet Band. I didn't realize he was like a real person. I did. I thought he was the Muppets guy.
He both between his name and what he looks like, I would probably tend to agree with you.
Yeah, listen, somebody has to let him know that you cannot be a Republican, you cannot be a conservative, a successful one anyway, and support red flag laws. Red flag laws are a constitutional violation. Every time they finally get to an appropriate level in the court, they're determined to be so. Folks, if you don't know what we're talking about, these are the seizure of firearms without due process. It's what it comes down to. It's the seizure of firearms without due process. You want to talk due process, you want to put it in there prior, you want to put it in there after, whatever it happens to be. There's nothing in these red flag laws anywhere around the country other than we're taking them and we're going to do it ex parte without your knowledge ahead of time. So, you cannot be, I'm sorry, as far as I'm concerned, a successful Republican, or don't even say you're a Second Amendment reporter or supporter, because we know that's a lie. That just like Craig said, you're not a Second Amendment butt, you're a Second Amendment ass if that happens.
Well, exactly. And to be clear, for those of you, once again, I know we have an audience over at OpsLens who hasn't heard us talk about this particular issue before, but let's be clear exactly what red flag laws are. It's where someone you may or may not know can go to a judge and declare that you are a danger to yourself and others, and that judge can then have your right to keep and bear arms taken away. And in some states, like in California, they issue with that they issue a gun seizure warrant where armed officers come to your home. By the way, this is all ex parte. You don't know about it. You didn't even know that this was going on. So all of a sudden, armed law enforcement shows up at your door to seize your firearms, right? And with this warrant, they can search anywhere they believe you might have a firearm. And then at some point later, usually 21 days later, you get to go before a judge. And by the way, it's a civil action, so you're not guaranteed a lawyer. You don't get a lawyer. You then have to declare and prove. So you're guilty until proven innocent. Prove that you are not a danger to yourself or others. They don't give you any standard. They don't tell you you need to get a psychiatrist or anything like that. They give you absolutely no standard. Folks, this is such a violation of an individual's rights, of our right to keep and bear arms, of our right to face our accuser, because in places like California, there's no even guarantee that you even get to face your accuser. There is no way that you can say you are pro-liberty, that you believe in our Constitution if you believe in red flag laws. Absolutely not. Or you can say it, but you'd be a liar.
This might be, looking at this now, Dr. Oz, remember, Dr. Mehmet Oz, right? So it's not an American name. He's actually originally from Cleveland, and LeBron might have told him that guns were bad. So this might be the LeBron platform that he's using.
Mike, I have to admit, I thought you were heading a bad place there. I thought you were heading a bad. I was like, uh-oh, here we go. We're going to get kicked off. We're going to get kicked off Facebook. I thought we were going to have to send Mike to racial sensitivity training again.
Oh, no, we're good. We're good. I'm very racially sensitive. Right in this spot right here, too.
So, yeah. So the moral to this story is beware of Republicans bearing red flag laws.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just because they say they're conservative, say they're Republican, make sure you ask that question. You have to ask that question.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you end up like this. You think, man, it's a great guy. He's popular.
Right.
He seems to know what he's doing. Maybe that's what they're telling him his demographics are in Pennsylvania. Listen, they want conservatives, but they want anti-gun. It's like the opposite of the neighboring West Virginia there, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, so with that, I want you to take the lead on this next story, because this is another supporter of red flag laws, and I have to admit that kind of colored my perspective of him in analyzing this particular story. So I wanted someone with a little bit more unbiased perspective to present this story.
Unbiased. Well, I don't know how much unbiased you're going to get, because I agree that Rick Scott is a D-bag. That's just who turned his back on the Republican Party and everybody conservative in the state of Florida. Rick Scott, when he was running for senator, this is when the shooting happened at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School 4 years ago. He was still our governor and had already announced he was running for senator. And in the knee-jerk reaction style, the Sandy Hook style reaction of creating laws post-tragedy, he helped create the Marjory Stoneman Douglas Safety Act or Security Act, which included putting red flag laws in, lowering the age of people purchase a firearm for a long gun from 21 to 18. Raising it from 18 to 21. Should have been the other way around. And he put the red flag laws in place as well, extended waiting day periods, did a whole host of laws to set us back 40 or 50 years in Florida for our firearms freedoms. And he did that because he was running for Senate and he didn't need the votes. That's what gets me. He didn't need the votes. You know what he wanted, Craig? He wanted the media on his side. So this guy's got no love lost in Florida. He's one of those, the devil, right? Because he's going to vote the right way 90% of the time. We're not going to put a Democrat in his place instead. His tax plan he came up with, and he's I forget the name of the organization, but he's the leader of re-elect Republican senators or whatever the proper title is. And so he comes up with basic plans and supports basic plans that they get from the Republican senators organization. And part of this has been that he has said, he made a couple of quotes, and it seems as though the media, I love them, CBS, and then of course your likes of Chuck Schumer, and then my girl Jen Psaki there, they reinterpret it and put his words together. He said that for everybody to have a say in income tax, they should pay a little bit. I think his quote was to have a little bit of skin in the game. Where does he say that? Yeah, all Americans should pay some income tax to have skin in the game, even if a small amount. Folks, listen, I get that there's people that make below a certain wage, or there's students, or there's retirees, past 65, that don't have to pay a regular income tax. Well, guess what? If you get a check from the government, or you get a check from your job, and there's FICA in there, you're paying income tax. Okay, you may not be filing a 1040 at the end of the year, but you're paying income tax. All right. So I believe that's what he was trying to say, is that we all have to do this. I think he was really shooting at there, Craig. If you're an illegal immigrant, you need to be paying tax if you want to have a say in this country. You need to be paying income tax. You can't be using a dead person's social security number. You can't be getting paid under the table. All right. I believe that was what their goal was in the larger context. But of course, that's not what CBS points out. And then CBS goes on. I'm sorry. Then CBS goes on to say that what was his other quote there, Craig? Bring that back up.
Well, here was the thing that got me, and this is where I fully and wholly admit that I bit, because this next quote is not a quote by Rick Scott. Now check it out. Check it out. It says, Senator Scott explains the Republican plan to raise taxes on more than half of Americans, tweeted Democratic Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. He wants working families and seniors to pay more. I literally and I wholly admit that my negative opinion of Rick Scott led me to believe, well, yeah, you put that together and he wants to raise taxes. Now, I haven't read the plan, so I don't know that he necessarily wants to raise taxes on those individuals. I just know that he made that statement, and it sounds like he wants to raise taxes. And I bit into that quote because it started with Senator Rick Scott. And I just, folks, this is a reason why we have to read the news with a skeptical lens, even sometimes acknowledging our own biases against somebody. And if it hadn't been for Mike pointing it out, I would have swallowed this hook, line, and sinker.
Listen, we should read the plan, and everybody should. I could guarantee you that Chuck Schumer did not, and Jen Psaki did not. What's up, Jen? By the way, give me a call. I could guarantee you none of them read that plan.
I almost forgot. Okay, now you can tell. Go ahead and tell her.
There you go. Call me. Come on, Jen. Call me.
Okay. Back to the show.
So,
by the way, I keep that. I keep that image ready. Just ready to go. Mention Jen Psaki.
Ready to go. All right, there we go. There we go. I know we got your girl there, Beetlejuice too. You bring her photo up every once in a while. And so again, I think Chuck Schumer and Jen Psaki forget that they're the party of raising taxes. Okay, on the lower class and on the middle class, they're the ones that raise taxes. They raise the taxes. You want to know? I don't know. I've just go to your computer right now and go Google, put Trump effective tax rate. You know what it is? 22%. It was 22%. At one point, it was as low as 17. You paid from 17 to 22% under that president. And do this. Then go backspace. Biden effective tax rate. And you know what it says? 37.9% right now. Going up to 39.6. All right. Tell me who's the party of raising taxes. All right. It's amazing that the Democrats have the intestinal fortitude to come forward and say that the Republicans are going to raise taxes. I mean, talk about changing the story.
Is a positive thing that they have the gall. How about the gall?
That's what I meant. The intestinal fortitude. Yeah.
The gumption.
Yeah, the gumption. I was going to say a Spanish word that rhymes with balls. What?
Okay.
Can't say that. Can't say
that. Man, you can say that. You can say that. Soccer balls.
Okay. That's it. Yeah. Testaballs.
As you can tell, our humor is while our analysis may be of a higher level, our humor is pretty middle school.
Yeah.
And we're okay with that.
Yeah. I like the square pizza for lunch.
So hey, let's move on because it would not be news if we did not discuss Trump at some point, right? Got to talk about Trump. The liberal media has kind of set that standard. But this is going to be talking in a very, very interesting way. For those of you who, once again, who may or may not know, there is actually in the city of New York, there are actually people who are seeking to prosecute Donald Trump for I don't know what. Nothing that largely happened while he was in the White House, but they're going after him for stuff that happened before he ever became president. Well, a couple of the prosecutors who've been working on that particular prosecution, which is interesting because I don't even know. Once again, I don't even know exactly what they've got him on, or they think they have him on. It's called an investigation at this point. It's not even really a prosecution, but I'm sorry, the criminal probe. There you go. Sounds like sounds like some sort of a medical.
There's a
Some
procedure.
sort of a medical thing you do to inmates. Kind of probe.
They check them for COVID with the criminal probe.
But anyway, a couple of the investigators or the prosecutors in that particular case have resigned, Mike, and it sounds like the new district attorney is kind of deciding, I don't think there's any there.
Yeah, correct. And this was for misrepresenting the real estate values so that they could get loans at better interest rates. Huh? Doesn't that sound like a criminal enterprise to you?
It sounds like pretty much everything every property owner does in order when they're trying to get a loan on their property.
Exactly right. Hey, cut the grass. Paint the sides. We're gonna bump up the value so we get a better rate on our loan. Or when we're trying to sell it. It's pretty ridiculous. But yeah, these two prosecutors basically got told because the new district attorney got in. And by the way, looking at the TV news, I think it was Jack McCoy. I think Jack McCoy's back. I think
Jack McCoy is back.
I think Jack is back. So Jack came in and told them, "Hey, I don't see this happening." And so the technical, excuse me, the exact science of this is they made a statement that said the investigation or the elements of the investigation are still in place, or something like that. Like it wasn't we're investigating them now, but we're not investigating them. So it sounds like there's an office full of stuff that they haven't gotten rid of yet. So the investigation isn't over yet, Craig, but the people that do the investigating are gone.
Well, because once the investigation is closed and there have been no prosecutions, then once again, they won't say anything. In other words, you're never going to hear that Donald Trump was innocent. You're never going to hear that there was no Russian collusion. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed the mainstream media hasn't said anything about the idea that there was no collusion? Yeah. What you're finding more and more is as the investigation, because of the Durham investigation, as he is uncovering more and more evidence that this was all a hoax, the mainstream media is not talking about it. Or if they are talking about it, they're saying, no, that's not really what he said, right? They're trying to undo even what the investigation, or re-report what the investigation is saying.
Here, I got a plan for you, right? When there's world turmoil and it doesn't seem to be able to be stopped, who do U.S. presidents send as their special envoys?
Who?
Former presidents, right?
Yeah.
So how about Biden sending Trump to go meet with Putin over the Ukraine incident?
Well, I'll put it to you this way: he would have more respect for him than he would for Obama, because, well, when Obama was president, he took over Crimea.
Crimea. Yeah. I mean, listen, I want to go see Trump do it on his own. I just want him to go over there and shake Putin's hand and then be like, all right, he's done. Those guys go riding horseback shirtless.
That would be hilarious. I don't see that. I don't see that visa getting approved. I don't see that trip getting approved.
Well, yeah. Well, the re-entry back into the United States, that part probably wouldn't get approved. Yeah, they'd let Trump leave, but they wouldn't let him back in.
They wouldn't let him back in. They wouldn't let him back in.
Yep.
And speaking of that,
he could come in through Canada. He could come in through Canada, or in a truck, or just walk across the border in Mexico. Get back in.
Okay. Speaking of that, you guys. Needless to say that the Democratic Party and the president and the mainstream media, we all know that they're all in the same boat. We've been dealing now with during the entire term of his presidency, we've seen increased inflation. We've seen gas prices going up. We've seen supply chain issues. And the one thing that the Democratic Party has, that they have going for them now, is they now have someone to blame. They can't. It's no longer their fault. It's no longer their policies. But clearly, they're going to blame it on Ukraine.
I love these guys.
Oh, and Practical Jokers is a phenomenal show. It is. These guys, these jokers are. If you have not watched it, you've got to find it. However you can watch it, you've got to check out Impractical Jokers. It is definitely a fun show to watch. Now, the other parting shot that we have here, it was actually supposed to be part of our discussion on Democrats and their tax plan.
The tax plan,
As Rick Scott was discussing the Republican tax plan, we thought we would share with you the Democratic tax plan.
That's it.
How to make money in your spare time, because we all know that, they have absolutely no problem with robbing us.
No, 37.9% right now, going up to 39.6. Yep.
Well, and by the way, that's not even including if you're in a high tax state, because part of the Trump tax plan was, if you live in a high tax state, the rest of the country should not have to subsidize you. So you can only if you are wealthy, right? If your home is over $1 million, if your property taxes on homes over $1 million, you're not able to deduct. Once again, over that $1 million threshold. If your income is over, I think it's $750,000. I'm not sure exactly what that dollar amount is. You don't get to write off your state income taxes on that. So if you're in a high tax state like California that basically believes in soaking the rich, a lot of that money you're not going to get to deduct. So you're paying even more. Well over, in some cases like California and New York, you're paying well over 57, up to 57% of your income is going to income tax.
Yeah, absolutely right. Could you imagine, Craig, you're sitting at home and all of a sudden there's pounding at the door and guys are wearing masks and they come up with guns and they say, "We're here to take 40% of your stuff, man." What would you do? I mean, that's what's going on. You got the government's kicking down the door to take 40% of your stuff right now.
That is exactly what's going on. But hey, now some of your stuff you do get to keep, and there are some folks here who are our sponsors who actually like to give you stuff or want to sell you stuff, and so I'll let Mike introduce you to some of our sponsors.
They do. Reach out to a couple of Florida-based companies, great guys and gals at the Gorilla Manufacturing, Gorilla Machining. Gorilla Machining make parts for your America's Rifle, as well as our good friends over at Grid Defense. They make incredible parts, so you can go out and get you a really nice one, and in case Putin invades, you'll be able to stop him. And then of course our good friends at the California Republican Assembly. That's the Republican wing of the California Republican Party there.
Exactly. So folks, do us a favor, visit our sponsors. Please remember, follow us. There's a bunch of different places you can watch us. You can watch us on YouTube, and you can find us on Facebook. You can find us at 2A News. You can find us at the California Republican Assembly, at Arms Room Radio. But also, please make sure, check us out on OpsLens. OpsLens is a phenomenal. If you want to hear people who are talking about the things that I know you want to talk about, things like 2A News, things like Conservative Views, you need to check out the folks over at OpsLens. You can download the app, or you can just check it out on, like I said, on Roku or Apple TV. But please support them, support the shows that they have on there. And please remember, like, share, and subscribe, and encourage your friends to do the same. With that, we're going to be calling it a day. So we will look forward to seeing you tomorrow on Freedback Friday.
Freedback Friday!